Hello friends, welcome back. For those that are new, welcome. My name is Michele and I am the owner and founder of the Thriver School of Transformation, which is a membership where we take all the information that I talk about on my videos and we learn how to put it together in our personal life. So if that's something you might be interested in, make sure you check out the description box below. So today I want to answer a question that comes up a lot in my face-to-face coaching. I get people that tell me, Michele, my parents aren't bad people. They're not bad people. They're not toxic. But I have like the same wounds as people that have had narcissistic parents, and I don't get it. Like, why is that? So I wanted to talk about why so many people have these trauma wounds when their parents really were doing the best that they could. Okay, it's a really good question. So I think what helps me to understand it is to understand what trauma is, okay? Trauma isn't necessarily the action that is taking place, okay? So sometimes when we think of trauma, we think of like a big event, right? It could be maybe a life-threatening car accident, or somebody dies in the car accident, or experiencing, an attack. By somebody, whether it was a physical attack, an assault. It could be having your house robbed. Okay, so we think of that big event, right? But the reality is that those events are not the trauma. The trauma happens by your perception to those events. Okay, so for example, two people can have the same event. One will experience trauma and one won't because of their perceptions. So let's take the case of a house being robbed, right? Somebody's house is robbed and the person that feels the trauma or winds up with trauma, it's because their perception has created a core wound. And maybe that core wound in that case is, I'm not safe. Life is dangerous and I'm not safe. Whereas somebody else that experienced that same event might think, wow, I really need to lock my doors. That person was a bad person that took advantage of a situation, but their sense of inner safety hasn't been altered. Their perception isn't that now everywhere they go, they're not safe. So can you see how having that different perception is either going to mean that it results in trauma or it doesn't? So it's the same thing with our upbringing, okay? I get a lot of people that tell me, my mom meant well. She did her best, but she was a single parent and she had to work a lot. And I was home alone taking care of my 5-year-old sibling, but that was because mom, had to work for us. And she did, like I said, she was doing her best. It wasn't because she was trying to neglect me. And I always tell them, I'm like, well, the adult you are now sees that. That's the perception that you have as the adult that you are now. But the child you were at that time didn't have the emotional maturity to think that way. The way the child perception may have been formed, it may have been formed as, mom isn't here for me. I have to take care of myself. And the belief or the core wound that may have caused the trauma is, I don't matter. Like, I'm not important. And maybe only really gets positive attention by what they do with the younger child. Then another core wound can be administered by the perception, I only matter if I'm doing for, someone. If I'm taking care of someone, then I have value. But by myself, I have no value. So my point is that if you know that your parents did their best, if you know that they're not bad people, but you still have similar core wounds as people that had toxic parents, it's not because your parents are bad, but because the perception of the child resulted in a core wound being administered. And our core wounds have to do with our authentic self, right? I don't matter. I'm not important. I have no value. I'm not safe. Those are core wounds that can take place Again, even if parents meant well.